So I'm going to be talking about humanizing interactions while driving real business outcomes with WebRTC. Before I get started, I want to share a personal story with you guys. A couple of weeks ago, I was visiting India on business, meeting some customers and partners in that part of the world. And I had some unfinished personal business to take care of. I had to close an old bank account of mine and transfer some funds. And just for context, the bank that I had the account with is State Bank of India. This is India's oldest bank. India's largest bank, employs a ton of people, 300,000 employees. Now, what I remember of this bank was that everything in this bank took forever. This was 20, 25 years ago. There were long lines, a lot of people. Everything was task-oriented. And again, it's India, understandable, a lot of people. And sometimes I joked with myself, I remember saying, why don't they name this bank the Lifetime Bank, because every small task seemed like a lifetime. Now, fast forward 20, 25 years, present day, I'm getting ready to go into one of these new branches that opened up in Mumbai. And here's what I see. I see something completely different. I see that the bank has changed their workflows from a task-oriented workflow to a people-centric workflow. Everything is self-assist. Now you can walk up, open a bank account with a personal debit card, less than 10 minutes. You can walk to one of these futuristic-looking desks, plan your finances. You can go to these pods where you can learn and enroll into the various offers and the programs that the bank offers. And when you have questions, you can seat yourself in this private lounge and with the touch of a button get connected to a remote expert over video. And this expert can answer any of your questions, print documents, scan documents, do everything that a physical teller would do. Now, the same bank is looking at extending the same experience to their members over the internet so that they can leverage desktops, tablets, mobile devices of their choice, sitting from their living rooms, from wherever they are. WebRTC is absolutely going to play a critical role in enabling these experiences. This is not the only bank that's doing this. Several other banks are following suit. And the reason I know that is because CafeX is deploying WebRTC solutions with 6 out of the top 10 world banks today. As the slide says, banks are not just competing with other banks anymore. Banks are competing against the experiences that are offered when users like you and I walk into an Apple store. And this is not just a symptom of banking alone. You can see all of these logos on the screen. These are all companies that measure themselves on metrics like Net Promoter Score. Enterprises have figured out that when they can elevate the level of customer engagement, they can drive things like more retention, higher consumer spending, and that translates into higher revenues. As this slide says, this is from this year's Dreamforce event, customer engagement is one of the fastest growing areas, one of the hottest growing areas. And as you can see, customer now rules. Speed is the new currency of business. Change is happening fast. WebRTC can absolutely help accelerate that trend. And we're seeing some positive signs. We're seeing things like real enterprises deploying, Amazon's Mayday, Amex's video chat. Amex had 200,000 downloads in the first 4 weeks of it going live. Esurance looking to do video-based claims. Great announcements from Microsoft in terms of supporting ORTC, which we heard is going to be backwards compatible with WebRTC. Fantastic announcements from browsers. I mean, that was hilarious what Phil was playing over there, where browsers are now going to be supporting both the codecs. WebRTC is the most popular tag on Stack Overflow today. So all of this is encouraging, but we all know WebRTC quite hasn't yet crossed the chasm into mass adoption, right? I mean, and that is a reality. Now, do I believe that's going to happen? Absolutely. That's happening faster than most of the people think. And it's going to come down to what this community over here, the efforts, the collective efforts of this community right here. Now, in my mind, there are a few critical success factors that will help with the adoption of WebRTC into mainstream adoption. And they are these three. There are several others, but I want to boil it down to these three. Simple, mobile, contextual. It has to be simple from an adoption perspective. The question over here is, how easy is it to integrate into the enterprise? How simple is it to be not just integrated, but absorbed into the workflows that companies have? Second thing is, mobile is king. Mobile is huge these days. And the question is, do these WebRTC applications, do they meet the needs of end users' devices and their preferences? And then lastly, contextual. It has to be beyond video. The question over here is, are the WebRTC applications we are proposing to enterprises, do they affect workflow change? Are they driving those bottom line results that enterprises are looking for? So what I'm going to do is come back to the slide, and I'm going to talk about what CafeX's approach has been when you look at each one of these pillars, what our lessons learned have been as we touch upon each one of these pillars. But first, a little bit about CafeX. Some of you have probably heard about us. We are a software-based company. In fact, I think we were the first WebRTC company with the first WebRTC application to win the Best of Show and Product of the Year at Enterprise Connect this year. We've got several other accolades, as you can see over there. But what we provide is we provide a robust developer framework, a set of APIs, an SDK that allows enterprises to light up their mobile and web apps with as little as 2 lines of code. We also provide a secure on-ramp into the enterprise so that enterprises don't need to rip and replace what they already have, whether it's their UC infrastructure or the CC infrastructure. And then we also provide what's known as a context bus. And what this context bus does is it captures context, and it preserves context over interaction channels so that users don't have to repeat and rehash the same information as they switch from one channel to another. Now, we're seeing tremendous traction across different verticals. We're seeing some really good traction from both the OEM community as well as the channel partner community. So what I want to do is go back to that slide and talk about what CafeX's approach has been when it applies to those 3 pillars. So let's talk about simplicity first. Again, the question over here is, how simple is the WebRTC application? How simple is it for non-telecom developers to take this application? How simple is it for IT to integrate and deploy these applications? These are all critical questions. So the approach CafeX has taken is we provide cross-browser support, and our drive is to a plugin-less experience. Now, some of the browsers obviously don't support WebRTC, so yes, there would be a one-time download for those browsers, but hopefully with some of the announcements that have been made last week, that should go to a plugin-less experience. But we provide cross-browser support today. I mentioned we can get started with literally dropping 2 lines of JavaScript to get the applications going. And this is real-time collaboration. This is not just voice and video. The other piece over there, app server architecture. Having a consistent single server architecture has its benefits. So what we've converged on is having a consistent single server architecture so you're not deploying different server architectures for things like co-browsing or things like transcoding. It's all one consistent app server architecture. It makes it simple for IT to consume. And then the other piece is enterprise adapters. The whole point with this is that enterprises want to focus on workflow changes, on user experiences, and we've already done the heavy lifting. We've integrated with the backend infrastructures, leading backend infrastructures, whether it's Cisco, whether it's Avaya, whatever be the case. That makes it simple. Let's talk about mobile. Again, mobile is huge. In fact, a lot of our early deployments have been on mobile side. And we're going to continue seeing this trend. What we provide is native integration across both iOS as well as Android. You can get started with literally a line of code, Objective-C. The other thing that we also do is we support both codecs. So this is in line, the announcements that were made in terms of the decisions, MTI codecs of supporting both H.264 VP8. This is good news for us because what we at CafeX do is even before the standards were formalized is that we can dynamically switch between codecs based on what the far end is using, and therefore we minimize the amount of transcoding that's needed. And we all know transcoding is a big capacity hit. The other thing that we've done is we have brought together a ton of rich features to the mobile side of things. Things like tablet-based screen sharing, things like mobile intercept, things like mobile-based visual IVR. And all of these things help on the mobile front. They help on the adoption side of things. This slide, last but not least, in terms of, again, adoption, WebRTC has to be more than video. Again, the point over here is WebRTC absolutely has to affect workflow changes. It has to drive those bottom line results that the lines of businesses are looking for, because they're the ones who are going to pay the checks. Two things on this front, or actually three things. Let me talk about Live Assist. This was the application that actually won us the Best of Show at Enterprise Connect. So what we've done over here is that we've packaged all of these capabilities: voice, video, screen sharing, co-browsing, annotation, file push, document push, all of these capabilities, and we made it so simple that you drop in 2 lines of code on the client side, web or mobile, and you get Live Assist. Those are the kinds of things that enterprises, their eyes light up when they see that these are the kinds of results that they can drive. The next side of things is omnichannel and predictive. I talked about us having a context bus. So we're able to capture context. Once we capture context, we're able to do smart and intelligent things like routing the call to the right person based on skill sets, based on who is the most appropriate knowledge worker or agent to be able to take this call. So collaboration becomes predictive. The other thing that we do is omni-channel, putting the user in the center of the experience. I talked about us capturing context, preserving context. We are able to do things like rescue a chat session because it's going south, escalate that seamlessly into voice and video, all within the app, native integration with full Live Assist capability. That's when customers stop and say, this is what we want. Live Assist, omni-channel, predictive. That's the last pillar in terms of making it contextual. So what I want to do next is talk about a case study. I mean, we've talked about, CafeX's traction in the finance vertical and banks. But what I want to share with you guys is what this company, Jurislink, has done. This is a little bit, you don't often see this use case. This is prisoners in jails and correctional facilities talking with their attorneys using WebRTC, and they've displaced UC solutions in favor of a WebRTC solution from CafeX. And with this solution, attorneys don't have to travel to the prison facilities, to correction facilities. Everything is done very simply. So I'm going to play this quick video that goes through
Jurislink is a video conferencing company that allows defense attorneys to meet with their clients who are incarcerated. It allows them not to have to travel. So Jurislink kind of takes the traditional jail and makes it non-traditional because we can now visit that jail in a matter of a 30-minute meeting.
Jurislink is an unbelievable company. It's taken the complexity of visitation, having attorneys meet with their clients, and simplified it into a click of a button.
WebRTC is the technology that we're utilizing for Jurislink and through CafeX. WebRTC is a great base product. It requires no downloads for attorneys, which are typically not technologically savvy.
With CafeX, with their native SDK, you're able to implement WebRTC directly into existing solutions without having to ship another product. So it just works across all devices.
CafeX is phenomenal. They do the nuts and bolts of our video conferencing system. They provide all of the video conferencing technology, the updates, and just the back end of what occurs. The backbone of Jurislink is CafeX.
So you can see the excitement from Slade, who's the CEO of Jurislink, and they've implemented this. This is in production. This is live in 2 different states. If you can see that this can happen in one state in 2 different jails, then this absolutely is a repeatable case for other companies like this in the legal vertical to try this out. So next, this brings me to probably the most exciting part, personally, for me, in this presentation, which is, we've talked about simplicity. We've talked about Live Assist. Bruce Marlowe over here can demo this in his sleep now, right? We've now, if you've made this so simple, enterprises have deployed this. We have real-world deployments. There is a whole untapped market with the SMB segment so that everybody and anybody should be able to drop these lines of code and get this working. So we are announcing today, CafeX is announcing Quizbe. This is our cloud-based offer where you or anybody can literally sign up. Everyone gets 30 minutes free, but you can swipe your credit card, PayPal, whatever, get yourself activated in minutes. You get voice, video, co-browsing, screen sharing, file push, a bunch of these different functions, all ready to go in a cloud-based offer. Everybody can try it out. And then the other thing that we've done is we've packaged an agent desktop. Sometimes you may not have an agent desktop, so we've packaged an agent desktop with basic skill-based routing. The other thing that we are also going to offer with this is integrations to common platforms like Desk.com, Salesforce in the future as well. So this is something that is available today. You guys can go try it out. But again, this takes it to the cloud, makes it so simple that anybody with a web application can go try this today. So a couple of other lessons learned, again, in terms of what our experience has been. I just want to touch upon a few things. Getting sponsorship from the lines of business is critical. IT will be involved, IT has to be involved, but the earlier you can get lines of business involved, the faster the traction. We've seen that we start off with 4 or 5, 10 different use cases. We whittle them down to a couple where we get line of business support. Start small. Don't need to boil the ocean. No scope creep. Try to avoid scope creep. And then think about solutions when we go mass scale, when we look at volume-based deployment, what are the kinds of tricks you can put in place to avoid things like video transcoding wherever you can? I talked about some of the things that we do at CafeX. So these are just kind of some lessons learned as you guys get ready to implement WebRTC solutions and make it ready for enterprise consumption. So as I try to wrap up my talk over here, just a couple of other thoughts in terms of where are we going? What's our vision? Where is all of this leading to? A couple of thoughts. We believe that mobile and web is going to be the face of customer engagement. Gone will be the days where when you have an issue, you're picking up the phone and dialing a 1-800 number. And we're already seeing that happen. You will pull up the app, with a touch of a button, get connected. Video would be optional to an agent. Agent would know exactly who you're calling for, what you're calling for, who you are, all the context, and would give you A1 service. Engagement, collaboration is going to get more and more personalized. Second thing is democratizing customer interactions. And what I mean by this is that customer interactions are not just going to be limited to the contact center. In fact, 2/3 of the customer interactions happen outside the contact center. So it's imperative that we provide tools to knowledge workers, to employees, so that they can go where the conversations are happening. They can effectively engage with customers to provide that elevated level of customer engagement. WebRTC is absolutely going to be critical in making the bullet number 2 happen there. Finally, with WebRTC, I mean, we've all talked about communications and apps enablement. We've talked this for more than a decade. But finally, with WebRTC, we have the tools, we have the platform, we have the technology to embed collaboration in any app, anywhere, in the fabric of one's business. This is where we're seeing the whole industry as a whole move. So with that, I want to get my presentation to a close. We have experts from CafeX. We're going to be speaking today in a number of different slots. We're demoing some of our solutions at Table 30. Come take a look. I hope you guys have a really productive week over here. Looking forward to meeting and talking to as many of you as possible. Thanks so much.